Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the next Gourmet Box, the Women's Gourmet Box. This is exciting, super to be here. Here I am in Féchy, in La Côte, which is just slightly west of Morges, with Laura Paco. Round of applause. This is super cool to be in person, which is a weird concept, but also to be with the winemaker, celebrating the wine of this Gourmet Box, which is de facto, there we go, beautifully put there, along with the gorgeous plateau of cheese. I'm going to pick that up and just, there we go, look at this gorgeous platter. Ooh la la. Happy days. As you know, each Gourmet Box is a different theme and a different experience of Swiss cheese, but wine of Switzerland and of the world. And it's great after the New Zealand Gourmet Box from the Southern Hemisphere. We're back local for local and experiencing this sparkling wine. And Laura is an amazing winemaker, but also a friend that I've known now for a couple of years, in fact. And not just a winemaker, but a mum and a partner and a scientist, which is part of the winemaking, but also an artist, because winemaking isn't just science, it's also feeling, and feeling is art. So thank you, Laura, for inviting us here this evening.
Thank you for inviting me.
That's cool. And it's just lovely to have this box that's empowering the taste and the craft and the artisanal skill of women in wine and cheese. And confiture, because every good cheese deserves a nice confiture. So obviously, de facto is a very interesting wine, as we wrote about it in the blog. It is method ancestral, but it is procured, or it is the vines are grown in Féchy. Could you first give us a bit of an idea of Féchy and also the domain where we're coming from? Domaine de la Colombe, which is of the dove, the domain of the dove. And I think right now, with everything that's going on in the world, the dove means so much more.
Yeah,
yes.
We're lucky.
Yeah. So Laura, oui.
So yes, Laura, I take over the estate of the dove. So big pressure, no?
Yes, I know, from Dad. Yes, I know Dad. He was just here with the little one.
Yeah, exactly. All the generations.
Yes, all generations, all generations. And this wine is the generation of your latest child. The name again is?
Apolline.
Apolline, there we go. Apolline. Apolline was born in this vintage.
Yeah, and the day we bottled the wine. Exactly, so it's a crazy...
The day we bottled the wine, Apolline entered this world. Bienvenue en vin.
So I was not in the cellar, but I just brought the croissant for the team who were bottling the precious bottle
and then
de facto.
Something happened. Yeah. So about Domaine de la Colombe.
So we are a 15 hectares vineyard, and we are in Féchy. So as you just said, between Lausanne and Geneva, La Côte. Of course, the main grape variety is Chasselas.
Yep.
Even if we talk much more about the village name, we drink Féchy, we drink Montsurol, we drink Desalais, we do not drink Chasselas because in Vaud there is almost only Chasselas.
Oui.
But here it's important to say it because the wine you will taste after is made of 100% Chasselas.
100%. Oui.
So it was a way to revisit this grape variety and to make it a bit more fun or to make it different. And because I take over an estate where we have many Chasselas wines with each time a single vineyard.
Yes.
Which is put in advance to show the minerality, the deepness, and the complexity of the grape and the terroir. And after we will talk a bit more.
Of course, about it. How many generation winemaker are you?
Only we can say the fourth generation.
Fourth? But a very influential 4 generations, because the Paco family, which is obviously Laura, have been influential in a lot of winemaking styles, but also pushing the idea of Swiss wine and Swiss winemaking for each of those generations. It's not just happened like that.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of work over many generations.
I think we can say my grandfather, he came to Switzerland, he bought some vineyards
Oui.
and he started with the vineyards. My grandfather, he was also working in the vineyard, he sold to the cooperative. And he started to make La Colombe, so to bottle his own wine,
Oui.
stopping selling to cooperative.
Which many people, when they grew enough, they thought, oh, we can do something with this. There's a business in this.
But it's like a new work to make the wine. It's like a second one. When you are in the vineyard, it's with the plant and the plant growing, you are outside.
Yes.
And as you said, winemakers are now also scientific.
Yes.
No? Because the part of the cellar is fermentation and you have to understand a bit the biologic and how it works to make something sophistiqué, civilisé.
Oui, exactement. And so when your dad, Raymond, said he'd love for you to take over the house, how did that feel?
He never said that.
He never said it?
No.
Wow. See, this is great. You heard it first, right? So Laura said, I'm taking over.
Yeah, exactly. He was saying, no, do something else.
Wow, yes. Because your two sisters, Chloe, the eldest sister, works in wine, but away from the domain. And then your second sister is working within the domain, but in a very different way in marketing and communications.
Exactly.
So, but no one was actually in the viticulture, the oenology. So you said to Dad,
I come back.
That's true, because you weren't here at the time, were you? You were studying
École Hôtelière
exactly.
in Lausanne.
Yeah.
Yes. First I was studying École Hôtelière de Lausanne, and after I love the wine industry like you like, and you love, you're always here around.
Exactly.
And I was thinking, oh, but I am lucky, I have a wine estate.
You have it there in front of you. Yes.
So I was like, after I was starting a new
well, it's a change in mind, but also a change in direction and passion to bring those parts together.
Yeah,
let me bring up, I'm going to share a screen moment now, actually. I'm going to bring up a view of Domaine La Colombe and where we are right now. There we go, La Colombe. Okay, and then I'm going to open this and we'll jump over to the shared screen so you can see the parcels of land that Domaine de la Colombe actually grow their vines. There we go. That should be, everybody should be able to see that. Okay.
So as I said before, that's all the single vineyard we
yes, so Petit Clos, Berlon, Bailly, Bray, and Cuzy.
And de facto is not drawn on the map, but I can tell you it's just
slightly sud.
Ouais, sud from Curzy.
Sud-est.
Exactly. Sud-est from Curzy.
Oui.
We did not write it, but we didn't not wrote it because here we do not want to make a terroir wine. It's more like a fruity wine.
That's right. Yep.
Pear aromas and everything. So I know where the grapes come from, but I mean that's why it's not the name of the wine. Of course,
because this wine changes every year in some ways. That's the beauty of de facto, but also the intense idea of reading nature and reading timing.
Yeah.
Because that's really good. In terms of these 5 single parcels or specific parcels here, I mean, you have your favorites as well, right?
No.
Oh no, you don't. They're just
like
you're such a mum. You're such a mum. They're all beautiful.
Of course. Each year I have a challenge here or here, but I mean it's like choosing between children. We make 100% our best to make the best of each single vineyard. They all have their own character, and maybe at one point of the year I will have a preference for one, but maybe on another point of maybe 1 year later it can change. As you said, it's like de facto all of them are nature, but they evolve.
Exactly. They have an evolution, but also there's a character that you can't stop.
It's not a picture, it's a movie.
Exactly. So I'll just jump over to another shot. Oh no, I'll change that. And then, oh, here we go. Technology. This is the drone shot we have.
Wow.
Ooh la la. Wow. So I'll just jump over to this. So we'll be able to see this as well, showing this beautiful shot. So,
no.
Yeah.
You made it? No.
No, I didn't make it, but my friend did actually. So, so with Feshi, it obviously has it is in the Lakot region. What is specific about Lakot, which is different from Lavaux, which people talk about a lot, UNESCO World Heritage, etc., etc. What makes Lakot so different?
The picture is great because we see really well on the on the side of the lake. It's really flat, and here is only agriculture. And as soon it is a bit of slope, a bit slopy, and here we don't see so well, but it's quite slopy. When you walk,
it can be. It's undulating. Actually, a lot of it's like undulating hills and.
But when you walk or when you drive, you feel it exactly. You feel it. So but it's not so slopy as in Lavaux after Lausanne. So we can still plant in the direction of the slope. Exactly. It's not terrace but still it is slopy.
It is slopy.
So it's a dangerous vineyard. And if it's raining, if we do not have grass on the floor, everything would go away because of the slope and erosion. So it's a really nice picture to show down agriculture, as soon as it's slopy viticulture, and on the top, forest.
Of course, which in the forest is very important for holding back landslides and other mud or soil deposits.
Yeah, and the microclimate.
What I love about La Côte is that the undulating hills we talked about gives a bit more character to the same parcel of vines. Whereas terrace vines get this very, very similar sun exposure during the day. In La Côte, you will find some places in shade and some in light, even in the same parcel, which means those grapes are getting a slightly different character, slightly different experience than their friends, their family, maybe just a meter away. And so La Côte has the ability to have a lot more character from single parcel wines and single parcel cepage or varietals. And that's what I think why you with De Facto is that you have decided not to just label it as a terroir wine, but an experiential wine based on your knowledge of the terroir and Feshi. Yeah?
Yeah, it's really nice said. I love your description.
That's what I do. So how do we make De Facto? Yes. Now, because this is not, it is like champagne, but not like champagne. So yes, in fact, this method predates champagne, doesn't it?
We start with De Facto, but after Marc will explain how we make champagne. Otherwise, you don't know why is De Facto special.
Exactly like the comparison. So talk about De Facto.
De Facto, we take the grapes, we press, it go in the tank, and then there is a fermentation. So the sugar get into alcohol, and when there is a fermentation, there is some bubble. Just before.
Natural bubbles, just nature bubbles. If we kept you in a bottle, you'd bubble too.
Never try.
No, don't try it.
Don't try it.
Yes, but that's what will happen.
And so we bottle the tank before the end of the fermentation.
Very important.
We emprisonner. We cut it. The CO2 and it stay in the bottle. And it enables, we never open the bottle anymore. So it should not have too much sugar, otherwise too much pressure and it will explode. Exactly. And if there is not enough sugar, then it will stop the fermentation, because when there is not enough sugar, the
grapes,
the yeast are tired.
Yeah, it's true. The yeast gets a bit like, it's true. It's like I've run out of energy.
And after you don't have any, you have a lot of sugar, rest sugar, and it's not what we are looking
for. Because this is a dry wine. It is slightly sweeter than you would find in maybe a Brut style.
It's
Actually, it is dry. It is dry.
It's 2 grams.
It's 2 grams. But the feeling in the mouth, you're thinking, oh, this is sweet. It's because nature is a part of this, and there's that ingredient which can always change every year.
And also the yeast. When you have the yeast, it brings a special texture on the mouth, and it makes a sensation of body and maybe sugar or something like that.
Because remember, grapes are fruit, and all fruit produce natural sugars. And so with this, because nature and Laura and the team decide when to stop.
When to harvest.
When to harvest, actually very important. When to do the harvest, not having a baby or having a baby, but also then when to bottle.
Yeah.
And that is really the science and beauty of method ancestral. Whereas now I'll lead into champagne or champagne method, which is known as method traditional. They will make a normal still wine, as any wine is made, and champagne is wine. It's not just champagne. It's just made in Champagne. So you'll make a still wine, and you'll do what you want with it. You may put it in oak, you may put it in stainless steel or amphor, and then you start the second fermentation. So you add yeast again, put it in the bottle, crown cap it up, and then put it in the cellar. And in champagne, it's for non-vintage champagne, which means it doesn't have a year, it's 15 months. For a vintage champagne, it's 36 months. So
on the yeast.
Yes, the lees.
The lees. Yeah. So it stays a long time on the lees.
That's right. And that is where champagne obviously comes with a price, because you're looking after a wine for a lot longer. But that second fermentation is what produces the bubbles. And it's more of a controlled method, because they know how much yeast they're putting in, where the yeast is from, and what signature they are trying to provide. And then at the end of their session, and obviously in champagne, 15 months is the minimum for non-vintage, but many of them are doing 2 or 3 years for non-vintage now. Then you disgorge, so you get rid of all the ferment, all the sediment that is actually in the bottle. You clarify it, you add dosage, which is reserve sugar. Yes, so sugar again, which is either natural sugar or grape juice sugar, or grape juice, which is sweeter. And then you put the cork in, and out it goes to market. What you found with your wine is the de facto that you had a crown cap, or had an aluminium cap, which is the same cap that Laura and the team used when they first bottled the wine. Yeah, exactly. So nothing has changed.
So no yeast.
No yeast. No added yeast.
No added yeast. Yes. Spontaneous fermentation.
Yep.
No sugar.
No added sugar.
And no sulfites.
And non-sulfites. So nothing else in there.
Headache.
No. Exactly. And remember, all grapes and agriculture do produce some sulfites naturally, but we haven't added any, and it's non-filtre, which is why it has this beautiful pomme, juice de pomme sort of element to it, sort of cloudy apple juice, which I think is enigmatic, because you look beyond the glass and you're trying to work out what's going. You see these beautiful bubbles just forming through the mist.
No, exactly.
Yes, so
healthy wine.
Exactly. It's dry. It's very linear, and the linear element comes from the winemaker. Nature doesn't work in lines; it works in motions. But the winemaker finds the line that works the best at the best time.
Wine is also civilization.
Exactly. It comes together, and that's nice. And obviously with these cheeses, I'm going to give you some.
Maybe to add, it's really low with alcohol.
Yeah, there's a low alcohol, which is really fun because it means it lasts longer. Yes. So with the cheeses and obviously the confiture.
Maybe I can do like that.
Yeah, nice. Thank you. Very nice. There we go. So this is the confiture. Yes. Oops. Yes. We've got the different cheeses here. So we've got the one from Vallée de Joux. Then we've got the 2 from the Swiss Swiss German side, Schweizerdeutsch side. We normally would start with the one from Vallée de Joux. Laura, would you like to partake? Mmm. Yum, I'll move that up a little bit. Mmm. Now, you're the winemaker and you've never tasted these cheese with these wines. So it's really interesting to get your feeling and your experience. This is creamy, but it's salty. And salt is everyone's friend. Don't tell you that salt, don't let anyone tell you that salt is bad. Salt is good. Just don't have it too much all the time.
Like every product.
Like everything. Moderation, moderation. So this one has got a creamy element, but in a salty wash. And I think what works with this is because this is a fruity wine, but it's dry, so you find a midway the balance, the equilibre.
No, it's really, I think it's...
Yeah, see, then that salt, the brine element still stays in there.
It's good.
It's good.
It's a white wine.
Yes.
And really often it goes really well with this kind of
exactly,
cheese with a nice texture and the salty side.
Salt, because salt can enhance certain flavors and soften certain flavors, which I think is very important with certain types of wine. Then we've got the Chas Girenbad, the Swiss German one. So this one is a bit different. Even on the nose, so I know you speak more Swiss German than I do. I'm still trying to get my French. So, but this has got a bit more of a straw, a bit more of a farmyard element to it.
Farm element, it's like a bit stronger.
Stronger, but not in taste. It's more in the presence, the aroma.
Not with the salt, but with the aroma.
That's right, the aroma. So then you could go back to the wine. They find the balance again because you get the tropical fruit coming through. Not just so poire is a very significant aroma of chasselas, but then you're getting a little hint of banana in there as well.
Right, it's going really well. I think the cheese is a bit stronger to resist to the factor. No, it's
exactly,
like a third taste.
A third, nice. I like that. So we've found a new way in. And then mariage. It's all about a good mariage. And then last of all, Blue Dream, which is also from the Swiss German side. A very different cheese. You wouldn't always think of blue cheese with sparkling wine, but in fact, certain ones do. This is very mild. It's not over the top. It's creamier more than blue.
Really, really well done.
So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. This is what we call pairing in motion. Merci. Oopsie, pardon. And I'm going to put some confiture. So this is when the lovely fig jam.
Also a little bit stronger,
but not overpowering.
Not pas piquant.
Exactly. So then, Laura, you have that. Oh, hold on.
Actually, all of them goes well with the factor.
Well, that's what we do.
No, it's nice. Well,
yeah, exactly. We take a lot of time to taste, to pair, to examine, and then in the final part, what wraps it all together is the story. I
am a little bit afraid to have sugar with the facto.
I know.
I look forward to taste it.
I know. So you go with that, with the confiture, because fig is also quite earthy, right? So.
So good. It's already a new marriage. No? Let's see if there is a three people marriage.
Yeah, so what you get is the figginess is fruitiness, but you get the earthiness, which softens it at the back end. So it doesn't affect the length, but affects the front palate. Yeah.
Je suis épatée.
Wow, très bien.
Okay. It's not too sweet. It goes really well.
Exactly, because fig is I love fig on its own, and I love it in this form as well, but it doesn't overpower, and yet it can stand on its own as well.
It's really nice.
And this is what obviously the experience is about.
And all is made by.
So this is women, women, women. This is the box ultimate femme. So in terms of your winemaking, what inspired you to go down the de facto route or journey?
Why did
Yes,
we make
why
it
did you
like that?
what made you think that this, because you make a method traditional sparkling wine, you make white wine, still what, red wine, sweet wine. Why did it make you go down the
But I will say
facto?
we work biodynamic.
Oui.
We didn't talk about it, but it's
And a pioneer in biodynamicism? Oui.
So my father worked with biodynamic
Yep.
methods since maybe 20 years.
Okay.
So
I'm going to bring up a photo of Dad as you keep talking, just so everybody gets the context.
So I would say with biodynamic, it's a lot in the vineyard, but it's also a big challenge in the cellar.
Oui.
And in the cellar, we already do spontaneous fermentation on all our chasselas, all our wine. We already put very low sulfide, but
Oui.
it's one of the last thing we add to the wine.
Of course.
And we made some try with Berolon, we saw the parcel before, to make like a maceration wine, to extract some tannin,
Great.
to protect the wine, and we do not add sugar sulfite, because the sulfite protects against oxidation.
That's right.
So that's the objective.
Just like acidity as well. Acidity keeps the wine fresh and lets it age slowly and elegantly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And de facto was a good challenge to have no sulfite wine with Chasselas,
Oui.
but I was lucky to have all the savoir-faire already in the
Of course, in place.
Yeah,
yes.
already biodynamic, already no sulfite during the harvest, already everything it was just to have the idea.
Of course.
After I was really we really had the savoir-faire in the domain, so it was a fun way. And I thought de facto is a really nice way to put Chasselas with no judgment.
Exactly.
No? You rediscover Chasselas.
Rediscover, rethink Chasselas. And what I can always suggest to you is that if you've always had a difficult relationship with Chasselas, because it's a very different type of grape, but it's related to many grapes that you drink before, like Chardonnay as well. It all comes from the same family. Don't buy from the supermarket, because the supermarket will be always what sells the most of. You need to go to the vigneron, to the winemaker, to the cellar, because you're going to get more varieties. How many different varieties of Chasselas are there? It's many, like seven?
Of Chasselas,
yeah.
Féchy, Bayel, Bray, Petit Clos, Clusy, Berolon, Marchand, and de facto.
Oui.
8, yeah.
8. So you can see that one grape has many wardrobes or many dresses. And so it depends on the wine, it depends on the year, it depends on the style and the winemaker that provides the character.
All what you said is terroir.
Oui.
Climate, winemakers.
Exactly. And terroir is not just the soil, it's everything. All in one year.
Yeah.
And that's very important.
Yeah.
So if you like, where did the name come from, de facto? Because in anglais, it has a certain feeling, and it's it's very cool. I know. Where did de facto come from?
But it's just to say it's de fait. It's no explanation. It's just good.
It's good. It works. Don't change it.
And it's
because in thinking a de facto relationship is something that is not official, but it works.
Yeah, but next time I say that.
but obviously in anglais we have more layers of meaning to a word sometimes, and sometimes French has more layers to a word, like terroir. Terroir in an English speaking is the soil. Yeah. In a French concept, it is so much more.
Vintage,
it's
winemaker.
Vintage, climate, winemaker, soil,
grape variety.
Grape variety, where it's facing.
Exactly. Shadow.
Exactly.
As you said before.
All these other elements, all these parts just make it so different. And And so there's a bit of a back and forth. But for de facto is an official relationship, but it's not a registered relationship, which means it doesn't have a rule book. It works because people make it work. De fait. Yes. Which of these cheeses you think is your favorite?
I love the blue cheese.
The blue dream.
I love it.
Dreamy.
And you?
Actually, I'm very fond of Lac de Jus. Obviously, I have a personal relationship with Lac de Jus now, but also Blue Dream.
I love it.
Yes.
But
because
with the wine, I love, but all of them are going well. Actually.
Love it. Laura, love you for that. Thank you so much.
Bravo.
Remember, we have a gourmet box every month. This is obviously celebrating Women's International Day. Next month, it is We Get Naked.
Oh.
Yes, we get naked for the Nature Box, celebrating Earth Day. And following that in April, so we have to keep going. In May, it is the Sweet Box. No, you don't get me in the box, but you get close enough with a beautiful dessert wine and beautiful dessert cheese. We have already tasted them. So remember that every month you must order the box by the 31st or the 30th, depending on the month, of the month. And that box will then arrive to you in the 2 weeks of that following month. So remember, be online, be on time. and you're always going to get a different experience, a different theme. Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for inviting me here to your cave, for Grand-Père, looking after the kids. Exactement. And then being here and explaining so much more about the wine. Again, as Laura said, it's one of my favorite wines because it just has so many more, it has so much character, and yet it is nature in a bottle as well. And we can't always define it, but we know we can enjoy it. So, santé.
Santé.
See you soon again for our next Gourmet Box adventure. Keep drinking, keep eating, and keep eating and keep drinking. Okay? See you soon. See you soon. Ciao.